Every time we hop on a sales call or discovery call with an agency, project management always comes up. So it's a huge part of agency life. And I know agency owners really want to make sure that project management is top bar, the smoothest system going inside their agency. And there's no better person to talk project management than our very own training manager, Emma Watt, who's with me here today on the podcast. So let's dive in, speak with Emma, and learn all about project management inside agencies.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
So excited. Of course, we're always happy to have you on the podcast, but you've been definitely part of this Dot machine from the beginning. So there's no better person to talk everything project management than Emma, who really leads Dot & Company's training branch, department, whole other side of the business. So Emma, I'm so excited to pick your brain today, kind of learn the ins and outs of project management because it's so huge. And Emma works with people training inside of their agencies too. So we know that you're perfecting it and really working kind of in the weeds, in the nitty gritty with those agencies. So Emma, so great to have you.
Thank you.
Tell me the first thing, let's get it out in the open. How disastrous are most agencies' project management when you start working with them?
Well,
Be nice.
It's such an important objective that we have within the training program to analyze their project management software tool, whatever they're using, and get a lay of the land. And I kind of call it my discovery phase, because I often ask for full access to their Asana or their ClickUp or whatever it is, just so I can spend some time looking through it. And I always promise I'm not going to change anything. It's just so I can see how you're currently using it. And I would say sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes my jaw drops and everything's automated and it's beautiful. And I can see okay, this objective might be more of the soft skill mentorship training that we offer in our Dot training program. But then sometimes I see it and it's all of the tasks are red, which is my personal stress point. I hate when tasks are overdue, or there's just no system at all, which I think is also hard because a lot of what we train is consistency among client projects that you have going on, but then also between team members. And if there's no system, it's really hard to build that quality one, but then just consistent approach to your client services.
Yeah. We always talk about our CAM unicorns and kind of what we look for, but yeah, that sort of mind mapping, that thought process to get it really systematized. You can put any task in project management, but for them all to make sense, get them automated. That would be amazing. But to get them all making sense and working together and in a place where they need to be and in a time frame that they need to be, that's the sweet spot for sure. No overdue tasks. Talk about panic attack. So I think there's kind of a really great sort of start to project management as well, right? You're going in there, maybe it is a disaster, maybe you're starting from scratch, but what is sort of the fundamental starting point when you're building out your project management?
I think where I typically like to start is stripping it out of the project management tool and figuring out your standard operating procedure at the high level. So when you first sign on a client, what happens? What's the first step? And then we kind of go from there to break out that SOP of the high level step-by-step process. And then from there, you can kind of start to discover who's doing what and the timeline of what's happening. So typically for onboarding a client, it all happens quite quickly. So it's day one, there might be 10 tasks. Day 2 to 5, it kind of trickles down, where it might disperse between different team members, who's doing what, but
Mhm.
often it's at the same time. So you start to kind of piece together this puzzle of what's actually happening. And then we have a great resource with the onboarding checklist. That's a great place to start. So you start visualizing the high level process of what should happen. Maybe what's
Mhm.
currently happening isn't what should be happening. And then from there, you can build a template for your project management software that you can then duplicate to every single client project that you currently have. And I would say that's what I typically see, where each project is broken out by client, depending on the services that you're offering. Of course, there's going to be differences, but starting with a template that's very thoughtfully
Mhm.
created and created collaboratively as well, I think is very important. So you have buy-in from your team on what you're building out.
Totally. And I don't think this comes from nowhere, right? There's a majority of agencies that are in this position. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Emma, but project management can be one of those things that I think it's built out as you go. So having that dedicated person to really dedicate the time and energy to getting it perfect, not only what brings you joy, but such a great thing for the agency, right? Like that's such a great starting point, a consistent sort of template or system to go to as you grow your business, which is, I guess, the goal here for all agency owners, right?
Mhm.
So we're building it out. We're, taking the deep dive. I know you've done this with tons of agencies, dare I say hundreds, sometimes with CAMs working kind of in an agency that has partnered with Dot and Company. They're kind of starting from scratch too. I think it's always important, and I'm always telling CAMs, I'm sure you are too, to communicate those points to your agency, to the team, and kind of getting them used to the idea, because people can't really go from zero to hero. You know what I mean? They can't go from no project management to using it 24/7. So that over communication kind of builds that trust in the systems. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing today. This is the priority. This will work because of this. This helps because of this. Those details, those explanations, and constantly kind of getting the team to flip over to project management. How do you do that, Em? Like, I'm sure that is such a, I don't know if it's a struggle, but something that you have to get the team used to, right? Like, it's not on Slack anymore. It's over in Asana. Oh, check ClickUp. Oh, don't worry about, go over here. How do you kind of
Mhm.
get everybody on that page?
Yeah, I would say it is somewhat
Was
challenging.
struggle the right word?
Somewhat challenging slash a struggle. Um, I think because people have their systems of how they are currently doing things, and it's obviously working for them. And I always like to remind people of that. Like, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. You're obviously successful because you have clients, you're working hard. I know you
Mhm,
are.
mhm,
I am just trying to optimize your system as a project manager. So I think that's one thing, like approaching it with kindness and encouragement and making sure that you're all on the same page to start the change, because I think
mhm,
there's always going to be friction no matter what. And
mhm,
then the follow-up system, of course. So you get that
mhm,
initial buy-in, and then it's all about following up, whether it's bringing people back to your project management
mhm,
software. So if they're slacking you about something, I do this often where I link the task within my response back to them. And I'm like,
mhm,
hey, this is actually all outlined here. Let's bring this conversation back to Asana or whatever it is, so that we can streamline communication. If
mhm,
you have any further questions, let me know in a comment format instead of a Slack message, because that will help me organize these tasks and kind of like bring it back to the value
mhm,
of why we're doing things. And then being that leader in that as well.
mhm.
So just following up, I think, is so huge. Like, not being scared to follow up, not being scared to remind people, like, this is why we're doing it and this is how we're doing it. And that takes some confidence, of course, some leadership skills, and just like
Mhm.
the pure leader aspect of our role of like rallying people together to make sure that we're all on the same page.
So, welcome back to our podcast brought to you by the CAM community. Are you struggling to effectively manage your client services team? The CAM community has the solution. So, our monthly membership offers a 7-module training program, templates, and most importantly, a community of experienced account managers to support your team. Say goodbye to stress and frustration and hello to a successful client management team. Enroll now using the link in the description or visit dotandcompany.co/CAM community and take control of your agency's growth. We'll see you in the CAM community.
I think there's like an ownership too. Like obviously I see that happen all the time. Love the Slack hyperlink, works so well, such a CAM hack. But there's a level of ownership too, where agencies are coming to us, they want their account management to really own the project management as well, right? Like you are the owner of this success. So making sure that tasks are not only there, but they're being followed up on, they're being executed. People are doing what they are supposed to. I really do feel like agencies lean on us and the account management role to make sure that that's happening. So you have to really make sure that it's all living in one sort of, I'm doing this because I can see it, right? It's living in Asana on this list in each project board, and all the information that you could ever need, including links to outside creative, to G drives, to email screenshots, whatever it is, it all lives there. So it's that one kind of constant place you can go to get all the information. I'm sure that can be a little bit tricky for agency owners and the internal teams. I mean, I'm saying agency owners, but it's really the entire internal team, right? To kind of get on board and make sure that it's not Slack you're checking and putting all the information in. It's not over email. It's not inside of a Google Doc. Maybe it's there, but it should all be in your project management. So you have that consistency, that reliable space where all the information lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that source of truth where that's
Mhm.
where you go to figure out what your task list is for the day. And it is being constantly updated and managed and followed up on. I think that's a huge part of the CAM role, but then any project manager
Mhm.
would know that you're living in your project management software, whatever it is, like it's open all day.
Yeah. And sometimes there are like hundreds of comments in there. Like it can be a lot, but it's all there and you can search for it and you know that the whole team kind of has their eyes on it. So that's definitely a must for sure. I think kind of getting there too is, and maybe just in the training process or in the like go to project management process, there has to be some really awesome SOPs kind of built out. So the team does have that buy-in, right? Like they understand why everything is living there, why it's so important to use project management, how to use it. So, we're the SOP queens here at Dot and Company. Love a good SOP, but why are they so important here, Emma? Why the project management SOP?
I think it's so many different things, but the consistency, the quality of work that you're doing, the documentation part of it, like I always say, like people are doing great work. If it's not documented, it's really hard to figure out how to improve it even further. And it definitely takes time. SOPs are ever evolving and they should be collaborated on where you can kind of take the lead in a high level process, getting it documented, but then figuring out the critical points of the client journey is also really important. And I know we do this in practices at Dot, like where are those points of the client journey that could maybe make or break the relationship? Let's focus building out a very streamlined standard operating procedure to surprise and delight the client, whether it's with happiness surveys or going above and beyond with Loom videos, or figuring out that part of the relationship that will strengthen the foundation or the continuation of that relationship, always making sure that everything's very client-centric.
Mhm.
It is such a fun part of your SOP. Of course, it's kind of that day-to-day task list, but then how can you make it even better by figuring out what worked well and what didn't work well with a client that you may have had hiccups with along the way? How can you improve upon that? Or when your client's really happy and you have a great relationship, you can start to reflect on that and be like, how did we get to this point? Which is so amazing. Like, let me figure that out so I can have that with every single one of my clients.
Yeah, love that. And I think obviously we said SOP, so we both got really excited. but the SOP is so necessary. And I think that's true. You know what? I work with Audrey on our team, and she does a really great job of even keeping it updated in terms of what we don't use. So she likes to keep what we don't use too. What didn't work? We used to do this, but it's better this way because the technology changed, the platform changed. So really kind of showing those evolutions as well is, I mean, don't muddy up your SOP because it wants to, live in a gorgeous sort of vision as you present it, but kind of making sure that you are learning, you are evolving, like you said, Emma. So it kind of goes hand in hand with that project management, right? You want to make sure you have an awesome project management coupled with an awesome SOP, and then you're set up for success. So the 3 takeaways, if I can sort of summarize it all, Emma, and if there's 4 or 5, you let me know, but we will always make templates. We'll dive in, really break out all the tasks and make sure that we have everything sort of covered. We're training everybody to get on project management. Everything lives there. It's consistent. And then we do have that really awesome, that really strong SOP. And we're communicating all that to internal team members and agency owners. So I think that's a really great summary of how we do project management here at Dot & Company. I will give Emma all the props. She is the boss when it comes to project management. She knows the ins and outs, and she is a definite master in the PM world. So if you do want to learn more about what Emma does at Dot & Company with our training and kind of pick her brain, we do have that onboarding checklist as well. Everything's linked below in our description. And for all Dot & Company information, you can visit us at dotandcompany.co. Thank you so much, Emma. You are a wise person in project management, and you certainly have really broken out the essentials. So thanks so much for all that.
Thanks, Katie.
Here's to happy clients.